Hello, our friends from Five Reasons. Welcome to the post-game show. I know you guys are waiting for somebody else. No Royal Shepherd tonight. We sent him somewhere else, and he's not going to be with us tonight. So it's going to be Alex Toledo and our friend Gat Cartagena who's showing up right here to talk about this horrible basketball game that we just had to witness here on a Friday night. How are you guys? Alex, Gat, how you doing?
I'm
Terrible.
fucking terrible. This is losing to the Philadelphia 76ers is one of my worst nightmares. And losing in this fashion where we get an outlier game from Jimmy and everybody else just completely shits the bed. That was one of the most miserable games to watch, especially because the entire time on Twitter, I'm scrolling the timeline. I keep hearing, oh, regression's going to hit. We're just shooting poorly. No, we just played like ass. Like, that's really what it was. They played like shit, and it's frustrating because this wasn't 100% Joel Embiid. They got one outlier performance, I feel like, from Danny Green, and that's really it. And that swung the game. Like, Danny Green was a difference. They had one role player who you wouldn't expect to show up. It's not the end of the world. Like, you lose a game in a series all the time. But goddamn, losing like this by 20 and giving Philly the hope that they wanted, it fucking sucks. This is terrible. This is a disaster.
How do you feel, Alex?
It's actually good that tonight is when I'm doing post up and not five on the floor because I feel like I can be a little bit more unhinged because you guys know how I feel about the Sixers. Very similar to what Gad is talking about there. Whenever the Heat lose to the Sixers, I'm particularly bothered, man. The team has just always rubbed me the wrong way. And now it's just even more like whether it's Ben Simmons or James Harden, you know, I just think the way that they play, their whole brand of basketball, everything about them is so unlikable. Then you lose out there to Danny Green. Danny Green of all people.
I had
Like,
PTSD tonight. I'll tell you. I had
Exactly.
every three that hit, I was like, oh no.
oh my
Not
God.
again.
It's
No,
just like
no.
all the possible things that you could have thrown in there to piss me off, right? Because I usually don't like this is not I don't get this way with other teams. The Sixers just get it out of me. And especially because like they did what they needed to on the defensive end, I feel, as far as like sticking to the game plan, not letting anybody go off except Danny Green. Obviously, he's not a part of the game plan at all. And that's partly the reason he went off. But it just in general, like Gad said, you blew the great Jimmy Butler game, right? I mean, you got nothing out of nobody else. So that's the thing. It's like you can't really blow a great Jimmy Butler game anyways if you're not really able to do anything on the offensive end of the floor. Like they were just hanging around for the first half, you know, just looked like I don't even know what. I think they had like 17 points with 9 minutes left in the second quarter. Something unbelievable like that. I haven't seen scores like that like since I was a kid watching the Ben Wallace Pistons go up against the Heat. It was just unbelievable. Like you made that team look good on defense, and they're not that great of a defensive team.
That
you make
was
them look
one
like
of my
a good
issues.
rebounding team. They're not a good rebounding team. Like it was just
I love hosting this show. Go, God, go now.
You gave them hope. You gave the Sixers fans hope. You could have stomped on all of that tonight, ended the series tonight, and now it's a real series.
Yeah, go, God. You were gonna say something.
Yeah, no, like to what Alex was saying, like my biggest issue with this game, it isn't the fact that, I mean, listen, the Sixers put up 99 points. Like I thought the defense we played was fine. You're not going to get, what is it, 7 of 9 from Danny Green every night. Yeah. That's not going to happen, right? On a normal night, this is probably like a 15-point win, maybe a 12-point win. But through and through, the Sixers outclassed us. Like they just played better basketball the entire game because they kind of got to what they're good at. They got to the rim a little bit. They hit open shooters a little bit. They had their good players at mid-range and mismatch hunting. Shoot mid-range and mismatch hunt. And what the Heat did was, okay, Jimmy, bailout jumpers. Bam, bailout jumpers. Hero, bailout jumpers. Kyle, don't even shoot the fucking basketball. Strus, shoot the ball the entire time that the starters are on the floor. Like, the process for the Heat tonight was just so backwards, and it was the most frustrating part about it because it's not like it's like, oh, Philly's doing a great job defensively. No, Joel has 2 feet in the paint the entire time, and we're just not doing anything to make him work. The times that they screen Joel and they try to go to the rim, I actually thought it was quite advantageous for us. I thought Jimmy was able to get downhill a little bit. They were able to get something going there, and they just didn't keep going too. I would have loved to have seen Tyler get some more actions run for him. It felt like he was on an island a lot, just trying to create for himself jumpers-wise. So, like, there's obviously things that you can improve on. Just losing like this is just so damn frustrating, man. I hate it so much because it's Philly, because it's Doc Rivers. Like, the only reason this game wasn't a blowout from the jump was Doc Rivers, for some reason, insisted on running post-up after post-up after post-up after the Heat were just bullying them on those post-ups. I swear, we had a higher completion percentage on those post-entry passes than Philly did. Like, we were catching all of them. It was unbelievably bad offense from them, and we still couldn't do anything. Alejandro, if you don't mind me steering the conversation here a
No,
little
no,
bit,
you
Alex,
can go. Keep
Alex,
going. As long as it's going, I'm not gonna intervene.
I'm not gonna be here for that long. But Alex, I do want to ask you. So between Bam and Lowry, obviously both of them were extremely underwhelming offensively. Which was more underwhelming? Like I know Lowry finished with like 0 points, but at the same time, every time Bam touched the ball, it felt like the offense was out of sync. Like every time he did anything offensively, it felt like it just wasn't working. So which one was most disappointing to you?
I was going to have an easy answer with Kyle. You made me think twice a little bit with Bam. It's just hard to pick between the two of them tonight. I think Bam was all over the place, just kind of a little frazzled out there. He didn't, have the same types of bums guarding him that he had the first 2 games. And look, I usually don't say that about NBA players. They're not bums, but as far as relative,
we can be honest about DeAndre Jordan.
To Bam Adebayo, like those guys are bums, and he just did not take advantage of whatever space he had out there when he did have space. He took a couple of those, a few of those mid-range shots, which is fine, but getting to the basket was not. I don't think he was great at that tonight. Just in general, I think I'm more pissed at Kyle. I think like one of the biggest reasons you were excited about that pickup in the offseason was because he's going to be a drop killer for you. And I mentioned it a bunch of times, not that he's a big-time scorer or even a high-volume pull-up shooter, but he has that in his bag for when teams like the Sixers show up and, you're going to have that space coming off the screen. He didn't even look for it. He didn't even pretend to be a pull-up threat off the three. It's like, what is the point of Kyle Lowry if you're not going to take advantage of like that space that they're giving you there, dude? Like, if you're not going to – he's not going to turn the corner on a screen. If he's not going to pull up off the screen with all that space, then be 2 feet in the paint, like you said, like, what is the point? Because you're not going to be able to be that floor general guy if the ball is not like, what is creating the ball movement? It's not going to be Kyle Lowry coming off a screen and roll, right? Because if he's not pulling up off the screen, he's not going to get to the paint. So what are we doing there? Not that they were running a lot of that, but just in general, like, I like what we saw in the third quarter, the way that they got Jimmy going in general. I thought that was great because it was a lot of kind of him playing off ball, screening and rolling. I just thought they were very consistent with that. Whereas in the first half, he was doing a lot of one-on-one stuff. And I agree with everything you said as far as Tyler. Like they didn't make anything easier for him. Bam and Kyle got to be better. Kyle has to take shots. That's like, I can't stress that enough. Like he has to make himself a threat out there. They need the spacing. They need the points. And like, them playing up on Kyle a little bit would be better for him. I just think like he cannot get away with that. I know it's his first game back off a hamstring. He doesn't have to be aggressive, but like you have to make yourself available. Like you can't just be out there.
You have to be a threat. You have to be a threat, and he wasn't that tonight. Like when you look at the shot distribution just between Kyle Lowry and Max Strus, this pisses me off to an unbelievable amount. Max Strus took 11 shots, 3 of 11 from 3. All he took was threes. Kyle Lowry, 0 of 4, 0 of 2 from 3. Flip those numbers. Like, Kyle, you have to take the shot. The problem with the starting lineup when there's no pull-up shooting in it is it becomes way too reliant on Jimmy and Bam doing things they're not comfortable with.
Yep.
You have Strus who's the catch-and-shoot guy.
It's done.
You have Strus as the catch-and-shoot guy off the handoffs, and you need Lowry to kind of be that release valve where it's like, okay, sloppy closeout, one dribble, pull up, either a mid-range or a 3. And that is easy offense. Like, that is something that he can get to consistently. But he just wasn't doing that tonight. I'll give him the slightest of bits of the benefit of the doubt because he obviously is coming back from injury, but this cannot happen again. Like, you cannot make it look like a downgrade going from Gabe Vincent to Kyle Lowry, and that's what it looked like tonight. It was really, really, really frustrating to watch. I think overall they're okay, though. I think what you alluded to with Jimmy finding a lot of stuff off ball was huge, right? Like, one of the things with Jimmy is like, okay, you get against these teams that kind of have that paint protector in Joel Embiid. How does Jimmy learn, or how does he get his points? How does he get to his spots? And him being able to do that off ball is way more impactful than him doing that on ball. So that was a really good sign for me tonight. I think that's something that they can definitely go towards. But man, it was frustrating to watch the great game from Jimmy be wasted. Like, he can have a 25-plus point game, but I don't know if he's going to have this type of dominance. He was a superstar in that second half. He was the best player on the floor the entire game, and to no avail. There was nothing good coming from it. But I do want to get to some donos here. Did we read James Todd's dono already?
No. We haven't.
Okay, so I'm gonna rip off all these donos right quick. James Todd, shout out my guy. Thank you for the dono, the Toy Dog dono. He said, "This is one of those games after your dad found you doing something You doing something you weren't supposed to be doing. Not mad, just disappointed. Also, talk about Lowry and the goose egg he laid. Wild. No, listen, that's honestly a great way to put it. Like it was just embarrassing. It was an embarrassing way to play. Shout out Daniel Rutledge for the $2 dono. Said Lowry might as well just not have suited up. That wasn't Kyle Lowry out there. We saw Maple Felton tonight. That's for damn sure. Let's get to the last dono here from HM. Where's HM at? All right, shout out my guy HM. Shame on the 11 guys not named Jimmy Butler tonight. They combined to shoot 15 of 55 and 46 freaking points. Lowry I expected, but Bam had no excuse. Wow, 15 of 55? I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah, it was that bad. And I have some stats here to reinforce, these are not going to be stats you want to hear as a Heat fan, but just to reinforce some of what we're talking about with their offense tonight. In the half court, offensive rating of 79. The Sixers didn't have a great one either. It was 96, which is not good. But when you were to 79, like that's just really hard to overcome. And you look at the offensive rebound percentage, the Heat actually won. They won by 3% there. I think that's something we're going to be monitoring throughout the series, because that's kind of one of those stats that I think could put you over the edge, especially when you're talking about the Sixers getting easy second chance points and more threes, because that's kind of what I feel like happened tonight. Is we saw the downside of the game plan that the Heat have been running since game one of the Atlanta series, where it's like they're kind of vulnerable to not just open threes, but just guys generally catching the ball in 2-on-1 scenarios where somebody is closing out, or as well as open threes. And tonight they got burned by the latter. They got burned by the open threes. And what did they finish with tonight? 15, 16? 16 of 33, 49% from three. Like, that's not going to happen again. I predicted that in this series that they would win in 5, before knowing that Embiid came back, and that they would lose the game where the Sixers got hot from 3. That's exactly what happened. Like, I know it's not everything that happened tonight. The Heat offense was garbage, but just in general, like, I don't think that's going to happen again. I think their defensive game plan is on point, and I know there was a couple of things that annoyed me, specifically in transition defensively. I thought their half-court defense was phenomenal as far as keeping Embiid in check. Like you said, Gad, they did an incredible job just keeping him from getting in his spots and always seeing pressure and bodies every time he got the ball. I think we still saw them show help every time Harden got the ball. There was always guys kind of, sagging off their man a little bit, waiting for him to do something. I think he is just only good in the first half now. Apparently that's his thing, because I feel like
I think that's part of the game plan, though, I will say, because you watch how PJ Tucker starts out that game. They are just trying to frustrate Harden off rip. Like, the ball is tipped, and they're just pressuring the ball on Harden. They're putting on-ball pressure. They're just making him think about what he's doing offensively, and he actually has to, work and do stuff. And I like how they do that, because Harden, by the third and fourth quarter, he's almost negligible. Like, he's not really doing anything. You're going to be relying on Maxey, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid to close those games. James Harden is really going to be a non-factor to close, in my opinion. Because of what they're doing with PJ Tucker and Gabe Vincent and Kyle Lowry in terms of just pressuring the ball and Jimmy Butler and just staying in front of him. So I like what they're doing on Harden. The issue is, like you said, those open threes are kind of always going to be there. And that's not too bad. But if these dudes start catching fire at home, as role players do in the playoffs, that obviously is going to be a huge piece of variance that could probably swing more games in Philly's favor. So we'll see. But I want to get some more donos here. Shout out Coach Joe for the $9.99 dono. Horrible game by the Heat, non-Jimmy, and the refs. However, to do the Greg Hope trafficking, it took a near-perfect game for the Sixers to win. Danny Green won't do this again. I don't know if this was a near-perfect game for the Sixers, which is the most frustrating part. They got one player who was crazy in Danny Green, and then everybody else was kind of
and Maxey went off in the second half.
Yeah, but Maxey was 0 of 0 in the first half, so they did a great job on him to start, and then Maxey found his spots once they adjusted to Embiid and Hard or whatever. I don't think it was a perfect game from Philly. I think it was just a really ugly game from Miami, for what it's worth. Let me get to this last dono before I get back to you, Alex. Shout out HM for the $5 dono. He said, I don't want to overreact, but I'd like to see Vic plus Tyler plus Jimmy minutes to pressure on Harden as a defender. He can flat out get exposed. Have we seen much of that? I feel like we haven't seen enough. We saw a little bit in game 2. I didn't feel like we saw that much tonight. The rotations felt a little weird with Lowry back.
We saw a little bit of it. I remember it specifically in the second quarter, but there was a point where they were playing a lineup that I kind of have been looking forward to seeing at some point, which was Kyle, Tyler, Vic, Jimmy, Bam. And I think that's kind of interesting because you just have so many weapons on the floor at the same time. We know that I think Jimmy and Depot can take on stretches where they're kind of the 3 and the 4, and it's just a lot of pressure on the Sixers defense, like they're talking about, like the commentary is talking about, and I think it's interesting. But something I wanted to point out here is, and by the way, I'm all in for that. I just think Depot is one of the few guys who still can put pressure on the defense, even though there's a couple of times where he's the one acting like the drop killer, taking those jump shots when he comes off the pick and roll and Embiid is sitting in the paint. It's like what? Like everybody is willing to take all the jump shots except Kyle Lowry. It just pissed me the hell off.
The one guy who should be, and Tyler, but Tyler was taking them. They just didn't fall that much tonight.
Their shot distribution tonight was particularly crazy. Like I pointed out, I think on the last 5 on the floor that the Sixers were like, I think they gave up the 6th or 7th most mid-range shots by opponent shot distribution. And tonight, the Heat took 31 mid-range shots as opposed to the Sixers 15, and 23 of those were long mid-range shots. According
31,
yeah, 31 total mid-range. 23 of them classified as long mid-range, as in past 14 feet.
Oh,
so
my
like
gosh.
They were 11 of 13 from the rim. The Sixers were 11 of 17, so it's kind of close there. Then you look at the 3. They both took the same amount of threes. We know what happened there. The Sixers killed them. So like, that's kind of the biggest difference on offense right there is, like, do the Heat ever take that many mid-range jump shots? I don't think that's
they're not.
thing.
They're not the Phoenix Suns. They're not the Phoenix Suns. As much as I would love for them to be, that's kind of what I felt like they were doing early on. It's like, okay, we're just gonna take Joel Embiid, kind of having his heels in the paint. We're just gonna go to the drop straight up. We're just gonna hunt that, and we're gonna hunt the mid-range, which made no sense to me because you're a good 3-point shooting team, specifically with your role players. You're a good team finishing at the rim, specifically with your star players, and they were just getting to stuff that they're not good at. The mid-range is a release valve. It's not the go-to, and that was the problem for me offensively tonight is their process offensively just fell backwards. And hopefully this doesn't happen again. I don't think it will. I think Spo will kind of coach him up a little bit. Like, you have to try to find ways to get your shooters involved, but also not have your shooters hijack the offense because it felt like they were either...
Oh, my God. It was awful tonight. Like, there was
horrible,
no reads being made. Like,
none.
I like that they run dribble handoff stuff versus the Sixers, but they were spamming it in that first quarter and getting nothing out of it. Max was just
I'd like to
launching.
Yeah, I was going to say, one thing that I'd like to see is kind of the same gripe that I used to have with Duncan when he would just come in and he would be guns blazing. And I don't mind someone taking that many threes when they're that good at them. But if they are running you off the line and you're taking movement threes every single time, take one dribble in. The defense has to react to it because the guy's going to be on your hip. And then make a read from there. And he did that once earlier on in the second half. And I think he hit Jimmy going to the rim, or it was PJ, Jimmy, or Bam, one of the 3, going to the rim. And it was a good read. And those types of things are going to be available with the way that they're defending them. Like Matisse Thybulle, if you take one dribble in or you just ball fake, he will be going in the other direction. The only person on this team who knows that is Jimmy as of right now. And they need to get everyone else doing that. So, I don't know. Sorry, guys, I do have to head out. I'm only going to be here for a little bit. But my last words is I think the Heat overall are okay. Alex, Alejandro, I think you guys would agree with that. I think there's just some things that they can tweak, and they'll be fine. But at the same time, you do not want to give a team like Philly that confidence, specifically for the role players, because you have guys that can take over games regardless of role players. In Joel Embiid, sometimes Tyrese Maxey, sometimes Tobias Harris, as much as I love to slander him, and maybe for like a quarter James Harden. You can't live with like Gorgeous Niang and Danny Green hitting threes. That just doesn't work out for me. And when they hit shots, it's going to be an issue. Like the other guys,
is that a thing?
Gorgeous Niang? Yeah, I'm not going to pronounce his name correctly. Come on now. First of all, okay, do you know when he had that beef with PJ Tucker and they said, oh, Doc Rivers says Gorgeous Niang has some little fight in him. Shut the fuck up, Doc Rivers. We don't care about that.
Tyler's been bullying him the whole series, man. I don't want to hear it.
Like, he literally had a ref. He put his hand on PJ's chest, got his hand pushed off, and had a ref pull him back. Ref number 46, to be exact. Come on now. That's not a dog. That's a little chihuahua barking at PJ Tucker. Shout out PJ though. Shout out PJ though, because he was working hard. He did get on the offensive boards. I always appreciate that. Would love to see. I think he's someone that actually could be a big impact in terms of getting to that little like push shot, that 10-foot shot, to get things going. But I do have to head out. We'll be back on Sunday. It's gonna be a fun game on Sunday. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Appreciate you coming on, man.
Shout out y'all. Have fun with the rest of the show. Sorry, I just hijacked it for 10 minutes.
That
Don't
was
worry,
like
you-
that was like
you won't go on
therapy
for too
for the
long.
guy.
Peace.
That was like therapy session for him. All right, just to back up your guys' comments, that the Sixers actually scored less points tonight than they did in the first two games, just to give you guys an idea of how bad it was at some point. And I was talking to Tony during the game that it wasn't a pretty game for either one of the teams, and the Heat actually tied the game at the end of the third quarter. So it was whoever played their fourth quarter best was going to take that game, and it was just a horrible fourth quarter for the Heat anyway. So they could have even gotten away with this
I'm
win if they
looking
played
up.
it one good quarter.
I'm looking at those 4 quarter stats right now. They got
Yeah,
outscored 31-14
there you go.
in
That's
the
the
fourth
difference right
quarter.
there.
Like
Yeah,
that's everything. Besides everything we talked about with the threes and all that, like
yeah,
it's just, I mean, that's what we've been talking about all season is the fourth quarter execution and all that, and it just happened throughout the entire fourth quarter. It wasn't even crunch time. Usually, we're talking about the last 5 minutes when things are close. They just flat out, were flat in
yeah.
that fourth quarter. And speaking of flat, like my God, especially in that first half, a lot of those jump shots, man, hitting the front of the rim. Oh my God, I don't know what it was, the traveling, just not playing for a few days, but so many of those jump shots were just flat, man. Like I know they missed a lot, but when they're going off the front of the rim like that, that is the worst. That you do not want to see that. Like the legs are not
Yeah,
there.
and some of them they didn't touch the rim at all. Talking a little bit about the rotation because Caleb Martin didn't see any. I mean, he's played a couple of minutes at the end, but the game was over already. What happened there? Do you think was that a mistake by Spo? Would you like to see more Martin minutes for Game 4?
I wouldn't mind. I noticed that and thought it was a little bit interesting that he ended up kind of choosing Gabe over Caleb, even though they've both been relied on a lot this season. I thought he would go with Caleb for kind of being able to offer a little bit more size. If he
Yeah,
if he gets switched onto Harden or is probably guarding already matched up to Harden, it's probably a better matchup than with Gabe, who's smaller and gives up size despite him being good at D. But Gabe is the one who's better as a ball handler, better as a shooter. So I guess the compromise is just having somebody who can play both ends a little bit there. Caleb is somebody who, when he's not hitting his threes, is going to rely on a lot of hustle points when it comes to offense. Playing off the bounce, maybe getting an offensive rebound and coming off a cut, things like that to generate his points. So I guess, he went for the offensive side there. But I don't know. Like I thought Duncan should have gotten look tonight in the second half. And
yeah. Let's talk about that and let's review this comment by Michael Regalado. He says, "I'm sorry, but Struz is nowhere near as good as Duncan on our offense. Don't know why Spoelstra's not playing a top 3 shooter in the NBA." I mean, tonight, especially the way things were going. I mean, with the Heat missing so many threes. And they were losing anyway, especially at the end in the fourth quarter when they were down by like 10 or 12. I mean, why not at that point? What's going on? Why not Duncan Robinson tonight?
They were definitely set in the rotation for sure. We saw other times throughout the playoffs that he's willing to kind of mess around and will take guys who are in the rotation in the first half and not play them as much second half. And that didn't really happen. I just think he was with his guys, but I think Duncan definitely could have made a difference. Like the Sixers dropped back, and that's why the Heat were running as many dribble handoffs as they did throughout the game, especially in that first half, just trying to get stuff going, trying to make the Sixers, specifically Embiid, come out to defend in space and then get going from there. But the problem is they're running that, and Max Strus is just launching every time, whether he's wide open or not. And he was never really wide open. Like I think they did an okay job kind of getting to him there on the screen. And I just think they weren't able to create a lot out of it. Like I think they should have. I think that's the type of offense that actually works really well against the Sixers. Usually the Sixers, when they drop like that, are vulnerable to a lot of jump shots, whether it's long twos like the Heat took and threes. The Heat missed all of those tonight. They were terrible from mid-range, terrible from three, and that's the game because the only person who was scoring in the paint was Jimmy. I think the Sixers got a lot more free throws. I don't remember if they won the rebounding battle. They were at one point.
They did
Like,
because I checked it during the game. They got 44 in total. Miami got 35.
Yeah, that's not good. Like those are the types of things that the Heat have been winning throughout this series. And I know Embiid, is Embiid. He's great, but him just coming back should not be you getting out rebounding by 8 after you've been killing them on the boards, right? And I know that they were going very small. They zoned, so those are things that can leave the Sixers vulnerable to getting out rebounded, but it was just a poor effort. Like I think PJ was doing great work boxing out, whether it was his guy or Embiid or whoever. Other than that, I didn't love that effort when it came to rebounding. Like if you're already losing when it comes to offense and you're just missing all your shots, you have to win the hustle stuff, and they didn't.
Yeah.
They got outplayed tonight. I love what I saw from the half court defense. Just about everything else, outside of Jimmy Butler, it was bad tonight.
Yeah, I mean, reviewing the numbers here, it was 7 for 30 from three, just awful there. I mean, there's not much else to do there. Struz 3 for 11, Hero 2 for 7. That was about it. The rest of them just missed. Butler 1 for 5. Butler taking 5 threes.
Oh my God, all the missed free throws, by the way.
Yeah, they
Oh
did
my
miss a lot of
God.
free throws, especially in the beginning of the game. They missed 6 in total.
They shot themselves in the foot, man. Like
Yeah,
I know a lot of it is the missed shots, but there's things that they could have controlled there because they were hanging around despite all the missed shots. And those are the types of things you got to do better at. If like I said, if you're not making shots, and those are things that they've been really good at all season. So it just bothered me that they weren't defending in transition, weren't rebounding at a high level. And I ended up just checking now that the Heat actually ended up with more free throws than the Sixers, which just doesn't feel like what happened. I think there was a lot of weird calls with Harden and Embiid, in my opinion, but
yeah. I mean, it's a star treatment that they still get, But let's compare the two losses in these playoffs, because the third game against that series against the Hawks, I'm sorry.
Yep, they lost both game threes. That's right.
Yeah, it was but it was different though, because it was more because of the Hawks played a little better and they got that one, and it was a last minute, almost last second shot from Trae Young. So it was a very even game up to the last second. So it's a little different from this loss. This is like it's just
I remember
game.
Bogdanovich killed them in that game.
Yeah, he came off the bench and he was the key in the comeback. They came back in that game actually. So it's a little different, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a little different. I think the Sixers offense just puts a lot more pressure on the Heat than the Hawks did, right? I think when it comes to Embiid, they were so focused on keeping him out of position and getting any sort of comfort down low or even in the mid range. Like I just thought they were sometimes even overly focused on that, because I think there was a couple of times there where they sank in so deep when Embiid would catch the ball and those wide open threes would come. And like there's a balance that you have to kind of manage there when it comes to cheating off your man to come help. Like they would come all the way and completely leave their man, leaving them where it's impossible to recover and contest. That's what they're good at, because like I said, they allow the most threes, but they're also in the top of the league in defending the three when it comes to opposing 3-point percentage. So that is their game plan. They're going to, pressure the best players. They're always going to switch and help and rotate. They love being in rotation. They love doing all the team defense stuff and being on a string on defense always, because they're constantly moving around. The problem is when they're not on point, they're susceptible to open threes. That's how their guys get in a rhythm, and that's how you get, Maxey and Danny Green in, different parts of the game, just getting absolutely on fire. It wasn't hard, and it wasn't Embiid killing you. But those guys stretch you out because Embiid is just bringing so much attention, right? And I think Harden actually, is in the first half mostly, there's a couple of times where he actually looks like Rockets Harden a little bit, where he's kind of moving fast. He's not just plodding and dribbling in the same spot over and over. I'm like, he's actually making quick moves.
Three,
yeah, when he's playing quick and with force, that's when I think that
it's hard to stop him that way. Yeah,
he's strong as hell, man. Like it's different than Trae, tiny ass. Like it puts a lot of pressure on the Heat, because then you got Tobias and Maxey and Danny Green, who was finally hitting his threes tonight, playing off of those guys. Like the Sixers are just a much better team, but a lot of the stuff, like we said, the Heat could have controlled outside of the missed shots.
Yeah, Alex, what was your prediction before the series started?
Heat in 5.
Heat in 5. So this is the thing with Miami Heat fans. I know
with Embiid playing, so that's the thing. I had Heat in 6 if Embiid were to play the whole series. That was before finding out that he was going to be out.
Right, and he's back now, so we suppose he's going to be playing for the rest of the series. So that's the thing with Heat fans. They get, I know it was a rough game to watch. I know it's tough. I know you're frustrated with the way the team played, but I mean, you're not going to win all the series 4-1 or 4-0. It's hard, especially with the other team, with the superstars, and especially playing the way they played tonight. So it is what it is. That's why it's a 7-game series. That's why you go for that. Hopefully, Danny Green is not hitting any more threes for the rest of the series like he did in the first 2 games. And we are gonna be back on Sunday. So the guys are right now recording the 5 on the Floor episode. Look at Arlene and Jose Mato still hitting
They
five.
knew
Hitting
better than
six.
to leave me on for tonight.
Yeah, but you know what? This is better. This is your therapy. You can let it out, and you can let out your frustrations here with the
You're
post
right.
up show crew here. Royal's gonna be back on Sunday, guys. For all of you that were asking, he had something going on tonight, so he couldn't be here with you guys. So we had to step up here. We had enough, and we did it for
We
you
have
guys. So
enough. That's right.
that's our motto as well here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Thank you very much to all of you that stay here late on a Friday night watching this, especially after that rough game. That was just an awful game of basketball overall. I think even from, I mean, the Sixers were happy because they won, but they didn't play very well either. I think they played better in the second game of this series, and they lost that one by a lot. So that's what it is. Let me see. Marcus says, don't forget the Raptors took a game in Philly, so why can't Miami? Yeah, I mean, this is still very open.
He were a pretty good road team too. And you know how the Sixers are. When things start looking bad for them, like the crowd might start booing. Like, you know, if they start off ugly, man, he needs to start off good, man, because they're really good in the first quarter usually. They were awful.
Was it about effort, or was it about the team not functioning well? What do you think?
Functioning. Definitely the functioning. Like, I just think they were running a lot of that old Duncan dribble handoff stuff and just not making any reads off of it, man. Just a lot of launching. It's like, dude, if you're gonna run that, just throw Duncan out there.
Right.
No, but in serious, like I still think it, you know, things are looking up for the Heat as far as, you know, their defensive game plan. Like Harden and Embiid have been pretty much contained, right? And you know, they gotta do better on offense. They gotta, I think, make everybody feel better. I think people actually, you know, if they want to be worried a little bit after this, because it's a 2-1 series, let them be worried, right? This is the fun of the playoffs, the ups, the downs. Yeah. This is the fun of the playoffs. This is a really good team when they're healthy. You know, I don't think they're better than the Heat, but this is what we've been waiting for, right? For Embiid to be healthy somewhat. You know, he's not healthy, but this is the playoffs.
He's healthy enough to play, yeah. Before we wrap it up, Alex, adjustments for Game 4. What do you think?
You know, don't take a three every single time, Max Strus, every single time you run off a dribble handoff. Like maybe pump fake, maybe, you know, take a dribble, make a pass like Gaz suggested earlier. No, it's not all on him. It just bothered me, but they got to do a better job of getting the Sixers defenders out defending in space, because when you just made them look like a good defensive team tonight, and they're not really that, you know. Jimmy did a good job shutting everybody up who says he can't be that guy when he's got a big time rim protector guarding him like he did a lot of times tonight with Embiid. You know, everybody else needs to step up. You need like so much more from Kyle, a lot more from Bam, but specifically Kyle on offense. Like those shots are going to be there for him. Bam, yeah, especially he has to force it. Those shots are there for Kyle.
Yeah, especially because he said it himself, like, I'm getting ready for the real season, which is the playoffs. Well, this is the time to show up again. And he was shooting very well before he got injured. So
exactly,
we want to see that Kyle Lowry coming back for Game 4 for sure. All right, guys, this is going to be it for tonight. It's Friday night, so go ahead, go party. Like our friend Arlene says, just forget about tonight's game. It didn't happen. We'll be back here on Sunday night. We're gonna have all the post game conferences here in the channel. Also, the 5 on the Floor episode that should be posted tonight on whatever you consume your podcast. So go ahead and listen to that tonight. If not, tomorrow you can listen to it here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. I'm gonna be uploading it tomorrow as well. Thank you, Alex, for joining us, for saving us tonight here on the Post Up Show, and we will see you guys tomorrow probably here with more Miami Heat content. Have a good night. Enjoy it. Still Miami Heat up 2-1. See you later.
Heat in 5.
Heat in 5. Bye-bye.